Here.
Councilor Heller.
Here.
Vice President Moore. Present. President Green.
Here. Thank you. We have approval of minutes. We have two of the 3 minutes from meetings here on the last month. We have the September 9th and the September 23rd. I'll take them together. If anybody has any amendments they'd like to bring forth or a motion for approval. Councilor Likens, is there a second?
Second.
Councilor Grabowski, any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Carries. Thanks. Approval of agenda. We made a couple of decisions the other night that didn't get onto this agenda. Under, I guess, whether it's old business or new business, we made a decision regarding the bonus and wanted to address that, and also the hiring freeze actually, Mr. Pope was able to get on there. And the last were just a few mechanics with regards to the merit contract discussions. And so I'd like to, with those modifications of the agenda, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve.
Councilor Likens, is there a second?
Second.
Councilor Steele. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. I'm going to dispense with comments, given the fact that we've got a fair number of things to attend to. I just want to say I'm grateful for my colleagues and for the incredible work and effort that has been done to engage this budget.
To rip off the taxpayers.
Next on the agenda, out-of-state travel. Mr. Eads, are you here? There he is.
Good evening, Council. I'm here to request out-of-state travel for one of my employees as well as one employee from Central Dispatch. Director Chambers and I just thought it'd be easier if I came up and asked for both. And we are just asking to send one employee over towards Dayton, Ohio for one night. They'd stay overnight and then attend the Tyler conference the day after. It's basically, Tyler Technologies does our public safety software, and it's just kind of a peer meet and greet with some of the high ups at Tyler, so everybody can kind of discuss any problems that they've been having, anything that they've found successful that's really been working, and just kind of collaborate so we know what's kind of coming down the pipeline and give a little more pressure if we do see any problems to give it to Tyler, to have them take to their developers and do something with it. So I will gladly answer any questions.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Councilor Likens, is there a second?
Second.
Councilor Steele. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, sir.
Thank you very much.
Old business, we'll address the Reedy Financial Group. We discussed this a little bit at the last meeting, and at that time made reference to waiting to hear. I know the County Association is going to be putting out some information. I talked to Mr. Pope about that. He said the information may be similar, although the Reedy information may be more specific and detailed for us. We talked about addressing that after the association information came out. That wasn't urgent necessarily related to timing, but it's on the list. Does anybody have any other discussion or anything else that you wanted to do about it?
The council had asked me 2 different questions. One was how long it would take in order for them to do the research and get everything together. He sent me a projected timeline. It's approximately about a month to be able to do everything. There's the project initiation, the engagement, for us to engage it. 14 to 21 days is the preliminary analysis and database development. It's the completion of preliminary data analysis and construction of associated database, and then the RFG internal review of team and material available for review by the county finance committee. And then day 21 to 28 is the final project summary where they pull it all together. It takes about a week of receiving the information, from the internal team at reading, and then the county feedback on preliminary analysis and final project summary will be completed. Final documentation prepared and submitted to the county, and then the presentation and work session with the county officials to present it to us and so forth. That would be determined after we got all that other information. And the second question you asked was how much they would charge once they've done the work and things change, if things change at the state or change with Senate Bill or SEA 1, what they would charge for those tweaks within that data. He said that it approximately costs about $5,000 or less to have updates done to it, based upon what changes with the statute, as well as because that'll affect the property taxes for next year. So, and I'm fine waiting until we get the information from. I really think that we need to do this if the information that we receive from the state or from the county association is not what we're looking for. That's got the details that we need. But I'm fine. I think it's fine waiting to see what we receive from them first. Before
Are you aware of a time frame from the county association?
No, I just know that they're working on it. I mean, I could reach out to them. Have you heard anything, Todd? I did ask if they were doing it, and they said, yeah, but they didn't really give us a timeline, right, Christie?
No.
They didn't say when it was, so I can kind of maybe reach out to somebody down there to see what they're looking at. I mean, if it's gonna be too far into next year, then I think we need to do this. That makes sense.
Sounds like valuable information that will really help us as we plan. Any other comments?
I think it's valuable information for sure to have. I just wonder if waiting until after this next legislative session so that we don't have to pay the additional $5,000 to have it updated. I don't know, just a thought. Because we're already gonna have the budget set for 2026.
Right.
We'll start working on that in July. And I believe it's a short session this year. So they should be done by like March, right? Ish. So, I mean, as long as we give ourselves enough time to get the information back, to be ready to move on our new budget next year.
Very good, thank you for the research and report. Next is the hiring freeze discussion. We talked the other night about doing a hiring freeze. We voted to implement that as of that evening. And we did not address some specific mechanics of how that would work. And so I wanted to bring that back to the table just to make sure we're on the same page as a body. We talked about having some time to kind of think about guidelines and parameters. Anybody have any thoughts or ideas that came to mind about that?
Yeah, I apologize. I left my handouts on the printer at work. I just realized that. I'm going to try to go from memory, but looking at the Personnel Committee is a branch of this council, Council Personnel Board, overseeing any exceptions to the hiring freeze. Looking at 3 categories, one being mandatory exemption, and I will send that out after the meeting to everybody to consider or to dwell on, or have Todd send it out to the council. Looking at mandatory exemptions such as jail officers, MCCC officers, places in public safety where the first frontline police officers, mandatory by state statute. There'll be some that are stipulated. Elected officials fall under that because the county doesn't control not that I want to exempt public officials, but we probably ought to have it in our policy, and begin to think, with input from your departments, what other mandatory exemptions would be there. Then there would be critical exemptions such as key positions in departments that maybe you deem and you work with department heads to determine that in advance. I would also recommend that anything that's by statute that has to be hired, that be determined in advance too, not have to come before the board and beg for something that's already in statute. Having those two appendix filled out ahead of time would help. Then looking at other exemptions such as within internal departments, if somebody leaves or transfers, retires, vacates a position, that internal transfers within a department should be considered, not allowed, because the whole still stays in that same department, and that we trust that the department heads could figure out how to best fit their department. Looking at other things such as the highway department comes into mind. They're self-funded outside of general fund. Maybe some of the health department, some things with grants. I know in the prosecutors and the court systems, they have a lot of grants. Some of those type jobs that they get a pass or an exemption that if they're funded by. Also looking at part-time. Part-time is kind of critical in some departments in allowing for, if a person actually vacates, not that you pile on more full-time to do more jobs if people leave. And that's going to have to be on the honor system, but we can, working with department heads again to identify key positions that maybe could be filled if it were to become available, say a department head, or if it's not filled from within. Sometimes those, Larry comes to mind, a director of our planning department, usually takes enough time anyway to probably get the approval to hire somebody. So it's not real critical, but those critical positions should be identified ahead of time so we're not keeping people short. And last of all, exemption. And if a department head can identify a particular position that they can vacate that position or do away with that position, we need to have some sort of incentive that we bank that money or keep track of it somehow so that we can make the payouts for next year, the one-time payouts, make those permanent with funds that come into our general fund by eliminating positions. I think without an incentive, why would you want to get rid of? I mean, all those things, the details need to be worked out, but I think, I apologize again, I knew we weren't going to vote on it tonight, but at least have a framework, and hopefully some others can build off that or have similar input.
So Rob, when you talk about mandatory exemptions, critical exemptions, so forth, have you looked at, in what you did today, do you have a list of those offices that you think would fall in some of these categories?
The mandatory ones, I just had a list of 7 or 8 that came to mind, and was hoping to generate more internally, or just as you think through these, where you talk to your departments, what would those come out to be? But I don't have. I think dispatch was on one, and those positions, because I know that you also look at where we see a lot of turnover too, unless the personnel board wants to meet weekly. I mean, that's another thing that we as a council, and specifically the council or the board, would have to meet to accommodate the department heads. I also thought about when they come before the board, and it's 3-person or 4-person. I couldn't remember. 4.
It's 5. I printed out the ordinance, and I made copies for everybody.
A suggestion was
Articulate. And you can send that information to our the way the personnel board, we can talk about who's present on the personnel board. I know the three members are appointed by the commissioners. Tim, who, do we know who the,
Yes.
if you can kind of help us know who those are?
Tim States,
Yes.
Dan Burke, Rick Gardner, Jody Miller, myself, and then Beatrice is a position member.
I saw the list, I meant to bring it, and forgot, thank you. So, just for the public as well, that, to make sure they know who sits on that committee.
May I add something? So with the hiring freeze, my idea is that, like, the point of us putting the hiring freeze in is to be able to evaluate positions as they become available to see if they're necessary to fill, to try to reduce our overall workforce, if we can. And so with that, one of my concerns with what Rob had proposed is that since the position is under evaluation, I don't think we should automatically allow for internal transfers because the position itself may be a higher paying job within that department that may or may not be necessary. And so I think I would caution against just automatically allowing internal hires without reviewing the position.
Yes.
And then also, I would caution against automatically allowing for hiring grant-funded positions without reviewing all the costs associated with the employee, because sometimes the grants don't cover the entire cost of the employee, and there are still costs associated, especially, for example, with IT. I know there's cost per employee, and so I would, unless we know that the position is completely grant funded. So I still think that there should be an evaluation process there.
Anyone else?
It might be good for department heads to possibly send us an email, on some of the positions within their department that are absolutely crucial positions that they have to have, so that we can get a better understanding of the department heads. I mean, I guess we could reach out to our particular departments and have conversations with them about that.
Well, for those department heads who are here, you've heard it. We'll get an email out to those who are not, to begin to engage the process of addressing specific needs with personnel. Anybody else?
Can I ask if we're already in the hiring process now, where we stand?
It's frozen. Can't. It's frozen. It's frozen.
If we've already advertised, for instance,
It's to stop.
and we're ready to conduct interviews now, are we able to continue?
No.
that If we have those advertised before we do about the fees?
No.
That's also something I know that they
It freezes.
in advance, if they know somebody's retiring or vacating, that you can get approvals ahead. You don't have to wait till you're ready to hire and then go forward, because that really.
And you don't have a freeze.
Everybody, and really, especially I know we've got half a dozen people scheduled to retire in the first couple months of the year, and those people apply or petition and be granted or denied.
Well, the good news about retirement, I mean, if somebody we know well in advance, that's an easy solution in my mind, because we know it's coming. It's the one where somebody's given 2 weeks and we have a position to fill, and what are we going to do? So I think where it is in the process, if they've not been hired, that they, in my mind, that qualifies for going before the personnel.
We also have, I mean, it may fall under prosecutors and public defender ratios and statutory, maybe that they fall under that. And
Which
that's
speaks to
another
your
exception.
exemption, or statute, which. Is that,
Yeah, it's not, I mean, I think we were in that situation where we got a quick notice that someone was leaving, and so we posted it quick, so that we could get that hired. And, I'm on the personnel board, I know we've only met once, and I'm fearful that
It's on their fault.
2 months. I don't control when that board meets, but I'm just fearful that we've been waiting a long time even to get. I know this isn't clean.
Can
or
he
easy
talk
at
into the
all
mic?
to do that, but I know it's not clean or easy at all to do that, but in certain situations where I think the positions are critical, it does really make it difficult to continue to do the work if you have a critical position.
And it may make sense to actually even have a critical position strategy for the committee, to address the situation.
Well, and I think that, Diana, we probably need to engage the members on the personnel committee. We can set meetings, and if we don't need to go, if we don't need to have a meeting, we can always cancel the meeting. But we can go ahead and set out, maybe every 2 weeks for the next couple months, personnel meetings, so that there's at least that.
I think an email tonight or tomorrow morning to all the members of the, what do you think, Ken? All the members of the personnel committee, we need to meet as soon as possible.
Sure.
Try to get an initial meeting, get the guidelines in place, and then try to hear from the different departments.
I think I looked on the website today, there's at least 5 maybe positions that are out there that are advertised currently. I don't know how long all of them are, but.
For the
certainly
county or
some
for your
city-
department?
I'm sorry?
For the county or for your
For the
department?
county.
Okay.
We have 2, but there's other ones out there currently. So.
If I may, Carl Sanders from Adult Probation. Different scenario. We had someone leave. We did the hiring process, interviews. Offer went out. He accepted a week prior to the hiring freeze, so he is to start this coming Monday. So I don't know if he
It's a freeze.
also accepted prior to that freeze. So
It's a freeze.
fair enough.
This is a problem. You can't ever have a freeze.
with community corrections. If I might just add something to what Rob was saying, there are departments out there that are in perpetual hiring all the time. And to have to wait on a meeting to come up is going to be very taxing. What I might suggest is that you identify departments that have certain ceilings on the number of positions that they're allowed to hire and approve up to that number. And then anything beyond that, then would come before the board. But to slow down the hiring process for those agencies that struggle already with filling positions is really going to be impactful.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good clarification. I suspect that the personnel committee will be open to, if other department heads have suggestions or modifications. I mean,
Please,
I think-
any ideas, suggestions,
Obviously,
yes.
the purpose of this is not to hamstring department heads. We want department heads to be able to manage their departments. Also, this is about a budget constraint issue that we face, and there does need to be some modification over the course of time for the numbers. So we just want to do that in a way that's workable and yet effective.
Well, then we have budget constraints now, and we know it's just going to get worse.
Right. That's the concern. And I love Rob's suggestion of incentivizing. If you are able to save positions, that comes back, what it does essentially is allow us the opportunity at some point to provide more effective raises to staff. It's just, it's a challenging tension to maintain, and everybody feels it. Okay, we'll move on.
And I'm just gonna say that if departments, okay, if department heads wanna voluntarily say, come forward and say, hey, I think we could eliminate these positions, that would be greatly accepted.
The second was the bonus mechanics. One of the things we talked about was kind of drew a line at 100,000. Was brought to my attention afterwards that what that does is not take into account a couple of situations. One, how the pay would come out to for a person who makes at 100,000, they would get nothing. For someone who makes 99,000, they would get 5% of their salary. And so a friendly amendment was suggested to consider a 5% up to 100,000, nothing more than that. And what that does is that allows for every employee under the umbrella to get some, to get a bonus. It probably doesn't affect obviously a lot of people, but I would bring that. The other is just the mechanics of how we pay out that bonus over the course of the year. I'd love to hear your suggestions.
My favorite quarterly, beginning in February, so every 3 months.
Every 3 months beginning in February? Okay. Anybody have a thought about that or concern?
My only thought would be, the auditor, do you have a suggestion that would work well for the employees, work well for your office?
If you're gonna do one-time payout, I'd suggest that it be a one-time payout. I mean, these bonuses or one-time pays are just asked that if you do it in one lump sum. I think most of the employees would rather have it in a lump sum. And I think you just determine what time of year you'd like to have it. I think after first quarter would be great. And it gets you past that first part of people are leaving, you know, there's no perfect time to do that. But I would request that you do it in one lump sum. I think your employees, if you're giving them a 3% or 5% bonus, whatever you're doing, would prefer to have it in one lump sum.
Okay.
And it would be much easier for our office to
Sure.
accommodate
No, just,
one time.
that's all I wanted to address, because sometimes they really matter.
I think my chief deputy suggested April is a great month,
April,
so.
others?
Well, I was gonna bring this up during our budget discussion, but since we're kind of addressing that now, with all the discussion that we've been having lately with the hiring freeze and with the cutting positions because of the situation we find ourselves in and the fact that it's just gonna get worse. And I would like to make a motion to do a 5% salary increase for our employees, excluding elected officials, department heads, and supervisors.
Yes.
I don't know if you can continue talking about it once they consider that.
That is how it should be done.
Elected officials, department heads,
And supervisors,
Yes.
supervisor, is that a,
like chief deputy.
So it's gotta be specific, because there may be people that supervise one person,
Right.
and now you've excluded
yeah,
that
that
person.
feels like a pretty general.
Well, I asked Todd, but he didn't have time. I know he was pretty slammed today. Asked if he
That can't
could
happen
give me
until
what
after
that,
the first of the year, we can
that
continue
looks
to
like.
talk about it. I mean, this month and November too.
What did you say, Rob?
So that, I mean, we don't have the mechanics of that put in place and can't till the first of the year anyway, right, Todd? So I would
Yeah, it doesn't have to, right, it doesn't have to be decided.
happen tonight. I think it's good still to discuss.
It was just something that we talked about, I wanted to address some of the mechanics associated.
Well, the reason I was bringing it up is because we know the challenges that we're facing now. And I keep saying it's just gonna get worse. It's tough now, it's gonna be even, we're gonna get a bigger hole if we don't start doing salary increases now. And if we don't do it now, I don't see how we're gonna do it next year or the following year. And we didn't do it last year. So I feel like it'd be the right thing to do, to consider, instead of doing a one-time payout, doing a salary increase. Since that, affects retirement and other things like that.
And how do you propose we pay for it, Kristen?
Well, I think if it was I think we could all come up with suggestions on how to do that.
I think so too.
Right now, we have open positions that we could just roll that money back into the budget right now. And then I did some calculations, and I don't know how accurate they're gonna be. Todd's, I think, gonna get that for me. I know he wasn't able to do that today, but
Can I just ask,
Yes.
are you suggesting we amend our budget?
yes.
Because that would be a huge endeavor, right?
And over the public,
Well, you signed up for this job.
The,
Is that even feasible?
Yeah,
Ordinance has already
takes
been
time.
set. The ordinance has already been set, so that we cannot change the bottom line of what's been.
Well, I tell you what, let me, we have a motion.
We got 2 weeks.
Is there a second? Because there's no reason to have any further discussion. on
Give
this.
it a second. Put the pressure on.
There's not a second, so we'll move on. As it relates to the mechanics associated with bonus, that doesn't have to be decided. I just wanted to be able to process that, get that on notice.
No one wants to work that hard.
The third is just the mechanics of the merit contract. We talked the last time, at the last meeting about that. We didn't talk about how we would do that. My thought was that Councilor Norick and I are the liaison to the Sheriff's Department. I figure we would be able to represent the council in that discussion. If you have other suggestions, I'm open to it. That was really the only issue I had to raise to clarify with that. Well, actually, that's, I did want to bring up we talked about the interest diversion a bit. I wonder if you can help us with that, because part of that proposal construct was the $600,000 from the interest money that was being put toward the commissioners. Anyway.
Maybe you
There's
pocketed.
two things in that discussion. One, Mr. Gardner represented last Thursday that there's a component of interest that belongs to the general fund in between the last day of collection and the time when we actually send that tax out to the different taxing units. So what we did today is I got with Dan, and he's estimating it to be about $340,000 for the spring. So I also got with the treasurer. We adjusted his IATIS worksheet that tells where all the funds, the interest from all the funds get credited. You'll receive your first injection of cash tomorrow towards that. I don't have the total with me, but towards that $340,000. But also, Dan and I were working together. I told him I'd work from my side with his information and see what that number should be from the spring. So we'll just keep diverting that interest into the general fund until that number is hit. And then we'll turn around and do the same thing in fall, the last day of collection between when we distribute. We'll figure that amount of interest and keep diverting that into the general fund until that's hit. I did want to give you that update.
Yeah, so there's the mechanism to divert the interest where it would be going into this fund. We're going to be diverting that into the general fund for this purpose.
Yes, and we took care of that today, and actually he's getting ready to do that.
So where has it been?
Tomorrow, so I'll get you first.
I know there were a couple of people who raised questions about that, and that was a helpful
So,
question.
but that, it sounds like you might still be negotiating with the commissioners on the capital asset fund and the 21% raise, so I'm not sure where you'll be there. So,
Yeah, okay.
any other questions about the
So does that
mechanics?
mean that we'll have increased revenue next year with that interest that's not on our revenue streams currently?
You'll start to see that increased revenue. You'll probably only see the $340,000 of it, because by the time we figure the interest at the end of the year, it'll actually get quieted into January. So, but that, it will come, it's going to come immediately throughout the end of the year for the $340,000. And next year, it'll be whatever that interest is from December and June. So you will have another, I would say, I think he has 680, but that's probably a little high if you consider spring's only 340. Usually we capture 57% of the property taxes in the spring and 43% roughly in the fall. So if that's the case, it might be 600, 620, somewhere in there, not 680.
Which was the minimum?
Yes.
And that also depends on the interest rate, right?
It is definitely dependent on the interest rate, and I think he said they were at 3.7 at that time, but as the Fed reduces rate, that rate will come down too.
So
Anybody
to,
else have any questions?
yeah, so to clarify, you were saying that's how much we needed? Is that what you were saying, Dr. Green, how much we needed to?
That's what we negotiate.
Or the 21% raise to the merit.
I thought that was coming from the capital asset and improvement fund from the commission. That they
Can't
were going
take
to
money out of the fund. That's why we're talking about the mechanics. You can't actually remove money from a fund to put it back
Okay.
in the general fund. So the mechanics of it is see what you owe and divert the interest until you get what that is.
It's rather
Right.
than going into
Right, I'm tracking. So then, shouldn't that interest come into the general fund anyway by state statute? And then what Rick was saying last week, that the interest from the property taxes should go in?
Yes, that's exactly what he was saying.
And that's what this is, correct?
That is what this is.
So this isn't money that's coming from the commissioners or that they're giving us, it's money that was due our general fund anyway.
That would be correct.
Okay. So did some of that interest this year get put into the capital improvement fund that should have come into the general fund?
We don't know what that is until after you get it, because it's a
What do you mean
calculation.
you don't know what it is?
That time period, so you're gonna end up getting it before the end of the year.
Kidding me?
So that's a great mechanism to shift the flow until you get to that calculated amount. Just like at the end of December, well, I think in January, the treasurer will get his bank statements. He'll be able to see the daily balance and be able to pinpoint when the last day of collection was and when the distribution was. Count those number of days by the daily balance. So you're gonna get it late from, there's always gonna be a little gap.
I'm not sure that was the question. The question is, if there's interest money, it goes into the general fund, and it's going to come into the general
Is his
fund.
mic on?
That wasn't part of the deal. The question was, is there interest money that's going to the capital improvement fund that will be diverted from the capital improvement fund?
If they're asking this question,
This interest.
they know that money's being diverted.
You cannot
They are
move
asking
money
questions
from
they
one
know.
fund to another. So I still think we're talking about mechanics. Am I
No, we're
misunderstanding
not.
the
I think what
question?
he's trying to say is, by statute, we see that we were entitled already to the interest
Yes.
I would agree with that.
that was, generated from property taxes prior to distribution to municipalities. So that's our cutoff date to pay property taxes is May 5th, I believe. From May 5th, we pay, at close to the end of June, we disperse the property tax to the different municipalities. That portion of money,
Yes,
whatever interest was created out of that portion of money was already supposed to have gone into the general fund. We were entitled to that to begin with.
that's exactly right.
And I think what Christie was asking, and correct me if I'm wrong, but what she was saying is that we don't see that we received that interest payment, that it actually went into the capital improvement fund during that period of time.
It's gonna happen whenever you figure that interest, and I think that's what Rick was doing before that
Interest is
last
here.
meeting, is working with the treasurer, trying to come up with that.
We already have the
Are you
5.5
suggesting that
million.
we get the spring installment portion and the fall installment between now and the end of the year?
Not the fall,
No,
but
you're gonna get the spring
Spring installment
installment starting tomorrow.
and the fall installment in January.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
And
But it's still gonna be a diversion of
yeah, it's prior to
interest
going
flow
into- yeah.
until that number's hit. So we'll keep track of that. As it's flowing into the general fund, we'll keep track of that amount.
And I think Christie wanted to know too,
But that-
Mike, and I think the question is, I thought the commissioners were ponying up something in some manner, and it really, you still have the money or the financing to do it.
So basically, we're using money that we didn't think we had, that we were supposed to have, to pay their portion of what they said they would pay.
So it's a
I
misappropriation.
think is what we're trying to say. And so that's, I think,
Which is
where
a
Todd's saying,
misdemeanor.
we're gonna have to come back to the table, and we're gonna have to.
I just assume that's why you let the negotiation open. You basically passed the idea of a 21% bump or raise for the merit officers. The budget doesn't reflect that at this time. But Dr. Green, my understanding is that you left the negotiations open so that you can work with the sheriff, work with the commissioners, work with the council, and come up with a contract.
So where's the
that
money
works,
sitting?
that's funded. And no, I don't imagine you want to count your own money in that.
I just wanted to make
So
sure.
where's it sitting?
Is that-
I just want to make
Which
sure we
fund?
were as clear as we can be about the nature of that interest. So I appreciate the clarifying comments and questions, and that will be, Councilor Nork and I will be engaging that dialogue and be back to report. Okay?
Perfect. Any other questions on that subject?
No, but when you get that number, Todd, for
Yes.
spring, if you can let, us know what that is, that'd be
Yeah,
great.
it'll be ballpark that 340, but I want to analyze the numbers from a daily balance point of view.
Okay.
I had a question for public comment.
No.
When are you taking
This
questions?
isn't time for public comment, sir. We have time for public comment later in the meeting. We'll call for it.
Oh, okay,
Yes,
thanks.
thank you. All right. Transfers, recycling center.
There wasn't a sign-up sheet back there.
Good evening.
Hi.
I'm just gonna transfer some money to cover the recycle bins, because they're done by weight, and our volume has increased so much that I just need to move some money so I can make sure I will for the new year.
Any questions?
Make a motion to approve?
Motion, Councilor Likens. Is there a second?
Oh, second.
Councilor Culp. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
Thank you.
Right. Problem solving court.
Good evening, Council. Judge Angela Sims. I'll be presenting both the request for transfer on behalf of the problem-solving court this evening, as well as the circuit court transfer, which is the next item on the agenda. The problem-solving court request is, as the Council's probably familiar, the majority of our problem-solving court is funded through our DOC grant. The request is to make a transfer within that grant from a Series 100 to a Series 300, which has already been pre-approved by the Department of Correction. We have a case manager position, which is a Series 100, that we're asking for the $16,372 to be transferred out of. That position is currently not filled and not going to be filled, likely given the hiring freeze and the other issues that we discussed here this evening. So we're requesting that that money in the grant be transferred then to our drug testing, which is our Series 300, which is outlined there on the transfer request, to help supplement the drug testing money there. That amount, just as a way of background, normally costs the program about $40,000. $30,000 is already funded through the DOC grant, and we typically use some of our general county money to supplement the rest of that for the remainder of the year. But if the transfer is approved, then we likely wouldn't have to use any of the general fund that we would normally use for the remainder of this year to cover all our drug testing supplies. So the court, or I'm making that request on behalf of the problem-solving court, and willing to entertain any questions if you have any.
Any questions? Take a motion.
I make a motion to approve the
Councilor
request.
Likens.
Second.
Councilor Keller. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
Next item.
Next item.
On behalf of the circuit courts, we're requesting a transfer from 4 accounts that we currently have that are outlined in the request and transferred into 2 other accounts that already exist in our budget. Our court administrator, Tim States, had provided the transfer justification in a memo that was sent to the council on October 14th of 2025. Again, this isn't any new money that's being requested. Again, it's a transfer from 4 accounts. This has to do with our recording system in the court system, which is mandated by law that all court proceedings have to be recorded. We've continued to work on not a very good system for a while and continue to put a lot of Band-Aids on that over the years. We finally had one of our hearing systems go down in one of our hearing rooms recently, and learned through that process and in collaboration with IT that we were unable to fix it as is, meaning some of the parts are no longer made with that particular recording system, and some of our operating systems on the computers weren't compatible either. So in an effort to not have to come back before the council to ask for new money, we worked on a couple different funds that we had, given some things that had happened during the course of this year that were going to allow us to save some money in those respective accounts and be able to utilize those for the upgrade and a new recording system, which we have already vetted with IT and have vetted with the respective court reporters and meeting state compliance and recording our hearings. I think Tim did a pretty good job of laying that out in the memo, but happy to answer any more detailed questions if you have any.
I really appreciate this justification, and I appreciate the bid process that you went through. way that you transferred unused funds around to not have to make a new money request, so thank you for.
Thank you, yeah. We worked really hard. We've kind of had a 3-year vision within the courts trying to utilize money. We've not asked for new money last year. We haven't yet this year. Hopefully won't, and hopefully not next year either.
In case you didn't know, we were appreciative.
I appreciate you saying that.
Other questions or discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Councilor Keller, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Councilor Polk, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Carries.
Thank you.
Sheriff.
Council, John Beaman, Sheriff's Department. Before we get started, I wanted to ask a question, and Todd may be able to help us on this, because it may impact some of the monies here. If you look in the line, find it here, on the last page, at the medicine for $12,000, that's a new money. I know we're not talking about that right now, but this impacts this. In our line of 1170, our medical services, that's our contract. With the issues when we switch contracts in 24, there's an extra payment, that $109,000 in that line, that we will not be spending this year. If we can pay medicine out of that line, that $12,000, that I'm requesting for new money out of that line, I would withdraw that $12,000. Then we just pay it out of that medical services line. So that's a question, I guess.
So you're saying, Sheriff, that we put additional funds in there because we had that extra payment?
Right, it stayed there, it stayed there, because we will start the contract new in 25, no payment will go out then in January. So we have approximately $109,032 sitting in that line that won't be spent this year on the medical contract.
How is that impacting this?
Because it doesn't impact the transfers at all. What I'm trying to, it's going to impact the new money request at the back end. So I just didn't know if Todd needed some time in advance to check this out or make that answer before we got into transfers. No, it doesn't impact the transfers at all.
Okay, all right.
No,
Sorry.
no, I just, you're right. No, not at all.
This was just in case you needed to look something.
Yes, the forewarning, yes, exactly, just to kind of, it will impact the new money request on the back end here.
Okay, so we'll attend to that.
Transfers, no.
Okay, well, let's attend to the transfers.
All right, sir.
We'll get to that.
We can only handle one thing at a time.
I was just trying to give a little
Isn't that
heads
the
up,
truth?
you know, little- so. Let's see, this is for overtime, the first one.
Overtime, part-time, civil process one.
Right. Find my sheets here. Right, we're moving them from the officers, the excess in those lines, to the overtime line for the 8,924.
There are 3 lines listed and 3 documents. So
Well,
there's-
yes, yes.
There's a sum of a variety of transfers from payroll lines to a civil process 1, to a part-time, and to an overtime.
Right, the civil process, because the individual employee hired in that position the line was short, so that's why we had to add money into that line. The part-time is part-time money, and then overtime is overtime, but we took it out of those other lines that you see listed, the excess in those lines.
And you believe that the 55,000 for part-time will cover the rest of the year?
Well, yeah, I've learned not to say it, you know, I'm sure I'll be back again next month or something.
Gotta have goals.
Glad our tax dollars are such a joke.
I believe that is Kim.
Does it deplete them? Pretty close.
Okay. Okay. You put the.
Are you meaning just the ones we're transferring from, or
Yeah.
all of them?
Yeah, just the one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I make a motion to approve.
Motion Councilor Grabowski, is there a second?
Second.
Councilor Cullen. Any other discussions or questions for the sheriff? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries.
The next side, the jail side.
Jail side. Okay,
And the same thing, it's one, overages in those lines into the overtime side.
okay. Anyone have a question for the sheriff?
Make a motion to approve.
Councilor Grabowski, is there a second?
Second.
Councilor Miller. Any other discussions or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Council.
Sheriff, we'll see you in a bit.
Yes, sir.
All right. Next is new money from various miscellaneous funds. Strange.
Hey, good evening. This is actually old money that I'm asking for in the new money side, but there's about $5,000 sitting in the unsafe structure fund, 1207.
So let's
And
spend it.
essentially, we're asking for a council to appropriate that for our department to use for code enforcement. And that's it. We've got 2 programs that we're doing right now in the Alexandria area. In the Phillips, and I'm sorry, I've been sitting there for so long, I'm getting without having anything to drink, I'm getting my voice back up. We're doing 2 neighborhood programs in the Alexander Phillips and Mary Innisdale neighborhoods. I'm thinking about using dumpsters, which would cost us about $500 a day, but then I was just listening to this presentation, and we may be able to get those from somewhere locally, from within the county government. So I don't know that we'll be using this money, all of it, but we'd like to have access to it for our programs and eventually be supplemented so that we can actually start tearing down houses for $5,000. You can't tear down anything. So that's kind of what I'm doing here.
Okay,
Make a motion to approve.
Councilor Watkins, is there a second?
Is there public comment?
I'll second it.
It's new money.
Any discussions or questions?
So you're gonna use this money to get dumpsters, but then are you like setting the dumpsters in those neighborhoods for people to put trash in? So
Yeah,
that they come
and this
into-
is, we're, in the Alexander area, there's 2 neighborhoods that have lots of people, not lots, I don't want to say lots, I don't want to say anything bad about any place, but there are a number of houses that have code violations. And sometimes for each individual place, it takes us months, if not years, to get these resolved. Here's an opportunity, I thought, where we could try something different. So we're doing what we call neighborhood redevelopment programs. We're identifying folks that have issues. We're giving them a year to clean up their property to our standards without going through any fining or anything else. As part of that, I'm going, we're encouraging, and actually, people have actually started cleaning up. I mean, I'm saying that, I don't know if that's really true or not, but that's what my code enforcement guy says, so I'm believing him. But, so the idea is we put these out here, it may or may not work, I don't know, but, they'll be manned, they'll be staffed, when I'll make sure county liability is covered, all that, so see what happens. A lot of the trash is just people don't have anywhere to put it, they can't put it out because whoever picks up the trash garbage isn't gonna take somebody's little 3-wheeler that's got 2 whole, wheels missing, so.
All right, so by us appropriating this money, you are working with the people in those neighborhoods so that they can
Yeah,
do it on their own without the county taking over.
yes. Kind of.
Yeah, I think I get the idea.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, sir. Auditor's office.
I thought we were supposed to be allowed to speak on new money, so this is.
Good evening, Council. Todd Cole, County Auditor. What I have for you is a request for appropriation in the Auditors Ineligible Deduction Fund, Fund 1216. Need 3 lines appropriated, 2,100 office supplies for 2,000 and $25,000 in both the 31,000 professional service line and the 39,000 other services and charges line. This is to pay for the remainder of the year for services like Baker Tilly compilation services. If you look at my general fund expended budget, we've completely exhausted the 3,100 line, the 32,000 line, the 36,000 line, and the 39,000 line. We got $2,478 left in office supplies, but we'll still need to order paper and envelopes before we get out of this year. I can do it by using the auditor's eligible fund, so I don't have to ask for money out of the general fund.
Likens, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Hey Todd, what are the other services and charges for? What kind of expenses are paid out of that line?
Other services and charges, they're usually contracts like BIS, your digital equipment here in the commissioner's office, and AOD, different payroll and functions that we take care of. But that's also where LAO comes out of, our financial software. That's the big hit this year. So
I just have a hard time distinguishing between what's professional, sort of like.
professional services, if you think like you're paying accountants or like Reedy Financial or Baker Tilly, who's actually doing service for you, versus a contract for software. Software is all paid out at $39,000 and things like that, or contracts for like technical equipment.
Other questions, sir? Any motion in a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next was actually we addressed this earlier with regard to the reading group. We're going to pass that along. Prosecutor's office.
McLean and the prosecutor's office here in place of Adriana, Prosecutor Cummings. We come tonight with additional appropriation for our pretrial diversion fund. We're asking for an increase in our 39,000 line in order to continue through the rest of the year. We've almost depleted that. We've got about $400 left in that line. We've used that for the per diems for our deputy prosecutors that have attended conferences. This is also utilized for various software packages that we have. And so we're just hoping to increase that by $10,000. We do have sufficient cash on hand for that.
Okay. Questions?
Did you have a specific plan for the $10,000, or is it just because the account's low that you want more in there?
A little bit of both. It's low, and then we're also anticipating the winter conference for our prosecutors to go to. We're not sending everyone like we do to the summer conference. This is just for people that need their CLE credits that might be short this year. They're trying to see here. I printed out. I don't know if you guys received a printout of all that we've spent out of that line. But we use that for reimbursements as well. So if there's any reimbursements due to any of our employees, then we would do that. We've utilized this to replenish our general fund once before this summer, so that we didn't have to come before the council and ask for the money in the general fund. So we utilized our pretrial diversion funds.
Make a motion to approve.
Councilor Likens, is there a second?
Second.
Councilor Grabowski, any other questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Welcome.
I'm Betsy Baxter with the Victim Assistance Program in the Prosecutor's Office. Hoping that you'll approve my request to appropriate both my VOCA and stop parent funds that are on the following page. So I put funds without a wish. These are grant funds and the programs that came with our advocates for the fiscal year 17-1 through September 30th.
Okay. Questions?
Are these all positions you currently have, and it's just a grant renewal?
Make a motion
a second?
Second.
Any other questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Was that for both that and stuff?
Sheriff?
Now we're on new money. This pertains to the $12,000 question. We can pay the medical things out of that line, the 1170 line, and that would withdraw the 12,000.
Sorry.
We're still not on
Not
that
quite
one
yet.
I appreciate your
Well, because I'm going to pull money out if you answer the question, I guess.
I'm just excited about the fact that money we didn't expect.
Right. Well, it's not often I get to give money an opportunity to withdraw.
I appreciate that, once you know that. No, actually, we're on miscellaneous funds. We have the county extradition fund, rainy day fund, the victim advocate, and the church.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, if you can, we can attend to those individually or collectively, however we choose.
Extradition is self-explanatory. It is monies that we need to bring people back for the courts. And over time, we're moving back money back over into those lines again. That, out of the rainy day funds monies for the capital case. So that's, those were those.
Sheriff signed some of the jails.
Yes, because of the 13 members.
Yeah, okay.
We're going down the victim advocate, and because the victim advocate and the CHIRP are grant monies. Just need the appropriations because they awarded that and going forward for the year.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve this.
Second,
Is there a motion?
Collectively? Right?
Yes, collectively.
Second.
Counselor Cole, we're attending to all four of these collectively. Any discussion or other questions for the sheriff?
So Sheriff, you have an extradition line too in the general fund budget, right? How is that different than this grant? Or is it just using up the rest of this grant, or?
Well, yeah, the extradition fund comes, Todd's explained this a couple times. It's a,
Oh, sorry.
County extradition fund's not a grant fund. It's a fund that receives monies from court cases and probably reimbursements from extradition when they're charged.
and that's not general fund, that's just the extradition fund, the 1155.
Okay.
This is the 30/90/70 that goes into the general fund side. The extradition fund is zeroed out. The extradition of 39070 is where this money going to. The general fund extradition.
Now you're really confused. So you're taking.
Todd explained 1155, the extradition fund.
Right.
This request is for the extradition in the general fund side of the 39070.
That's in the general fund, and it's going into the extradition fund, or the extradition fund was just appropriating money that's.
It's coming from the 1155 into the 390.
I think what the sheriff's trying to say is he's expended his extradition line in the general fund. So they're going to appropriate the monies that are sitting in the extradition fund for extradition.
Gotcha, okay.
Yes.
Nope.
Thank you for the clarification. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. Sheriff? All right. Well, we made it.
Well, no, we still have the communication and transportation. That's for our civil office monies. We're running about $1,500 a month on postage in the civil office. So that's where that, the 32,000 line.
So you're not as excited about that one?
No, I don't have any place to pull that money from.
Okay.
Questions about the medicine?
Rentals are, we think the 10,000 will get us the remainder of the year, I believe. Based on we're keeping 20 out plus 1 in DOC with the remaining balance and what we have plus the additional 10.5. Now, if we have another issue in the jail, we gotta move a whole block into another county like we've had twice this year so far. So we'll hopefully this will get us through without any, and then of course the medicine is that, the $12,100 question.
That's the one that you're asking?
Yes.
We have the additional funds within that medicine. It's not the same line though, is it?
No, it's
Yeah.
it's a completely different, it's 1170 line where it's sitting.
The question's really a budget line issue. You know, we generally wouldn't pay for medicine out of the jail contract services line. But remember, you can do a number of things. One, you could give us permission to just pay it out of that line if you wanted to. We wouldn't do it without your authority. Remember what the budget lines are. They're kind of a budget constraint for different areas. Those lines are really designed for you guys so that you can group like expenses together and be able to tell what a department's spending. You know the contract medical services?
The number?
Yeah.
So the auditor has no idea. This is good.
18, no.
The medicine one is 39241.
18242 is the medical services line.
Are you in the public safety?
It is.
No, jail side.
Okay. So what you could do is you could simply do a transfer in between 18242 and 39241 for the $12,000. Because this is where you have the extra money.
Yes.
The 109,000. So if you do the transfer, we can add it to our paperwork. It can be done tonight, doesn't need advertised. I can't do that transfer for you because the medical service is actually paid out of a payroll line, so I don't touch that.
So it's a transfer from the 18,242 to the 39,241, right?
Yes.
On the medicine line.
And I would say, I would take off the $12,000.
That would save the new money.
That would save the new money, yes, so it get transferred from one line.
Thank you. Maybe we should just.
We're going to attend to that first. So we'll deal with this specific issue related to the medicine and the so we're taking this as a transfer. So, I would take a motion.
I make a motion to approve.
Councilman Lewis, is there a second?
Second.
Councilman Cohen. Any other discussion or question? Everybody understand? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. So we're back to the other two, the common transport and the rentals. We can take those separately or together, however you want to do that. What's that? We'll have that, but we need to have
Have a motion
a
and a
discussion
second.
here. And then we'll,
I make a motion to approve.
are you putting them together?
Yep.
Okay, Councilor Dorowski, is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
Councilor Nord. Okay. That being the case, we'll hear from the public.
One point of clarification on that, the 12,100 you transferred from the 18,242 into the, yes, thank you. That is good. If there's other things of medical that would fall in that line, medically related, because I think we pay Stericycle and things like that for, hazardous waste pickups. That is still medical pickup or medical charge. Is that agreeable to pay that out there, or do we have to come back again next month and say, out of that, well, will be $12,000 less out of that $109,000 to pay whatever bills we may have left for the remainder of the year? on the Madison side.
Okay, so you're saying on the Madison side, how much surplus do you have in the Madison market?
Well, we're now,
Not the medicine, sorry, I said it wrong, in the medical services line.
well, we started 5 minutes ago, 109,000.
109,000, okay.
So we're now at about 97.
Yes, ballpark.
So you're asking if you can utilize the remainder of those funds to pay other medical issues?
Yes, if we have Stericycle,
You really are gonna have to come back and ask for us to do another transfer.
that's what I'm asking.
You wanna do it?
Do I have to come back and ask to pay that out of that line, or are you authorizing, like Todd said, you've got these clumped together for medical services?
You have authorization for 12,100.
Right.
Anything above that, you'll have to come back and ask.
Okay,
us to
that's what I wanted to know.
transfer.
All right. That answers my question. Thank you.
Okay. Public comment related to the sheriff, the common transport, and the rentals issue. Is there anybody who wants to speak to that, given that that's who we want to Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we have salary ordinances. Here a moment. The ordinance 2025-10C, we have the general fund, the sheriff, the civil process one, part-time and overtime that was approved. Is that correct, Todd? Sorry, I want to make sure I'm speaking, I'm not speaking.
You talked about the ordinances for, which ones are you working on, the sheriff and
The
jail?
sheriff.
So it's gonna be a variety of ordinances coming from the transfer. You have, civil process one, part-time, and full-time, and the transfer line. What's your, I don't have a copy of the ordinance. What's your next?
Here.
Can you talk in the mic so we can all hear?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we're just correct.
This ordinance is the first transfer, the civil process one, the part-time and the overtime, the very first transfer that you did. The second one is going to be the overtime, that the two amounts.
Are those amounts correct?
Yes, remember what the salary ordinance does is it adds to the previous appropriation to bring it to the total. So both of that on the overtime was added in, and so the same on the jail. The rainy day fund was the two amounts that they had between the sheriff and the jail for the capital case. And it's also added to appropriations, so you'll see it's a little larger. Then you have the sheriff victim advocate grant fund, the two victim advocates, the beeper stipend and the FICA, and then the troop grant for overtime.
So back, it is 2025-10C, those four items that we approved. We will take a roll call.
Counselor Steele?
Yes.
Counselor Culp?
Yes.
Counselor Lighten? Yes. Counselor Grabowski?
Yes.
Counselor Keller?
Yes.
Vice President North?
Yes.
President Green?
Yes. That ordinance passes. The next one is the VOCA grants that we just approved here a moment ago. That is salary ordinance 2025-10D out of the Crime Victim Assistance 8144 and the Stop Grant 8235. Roll call, please.
Counselor Steele?
Yes.
Counselor Culp?
Yes.
Counselor Lighten? Yes. Counselor Grabowski?
Yes.
Counselor Keller?
Yes.
Vice President North?
Yes.
President Green?
Yes. Those ordinance pass. Now we're on to the 2026 budget ordinances. We will start with Madison County.
I would never approve this budget.
Everybody's had those to review?
Yeah, I have a question about the, well, first of all, there's several of the funds that it's saying that we're adopting something that's higher than the advertised. And I want to make sure that we're okay to do that.
Imagine that.
Those are gonna be on the bottom part of that, where they're not DLGF approved.
That is correct.
Okay, the top part, none of them are above the average, is if they lower the funds, which they don't even look at them, so they won't, you just need to reappropriate. There's some funds, if you think about, when we did the 3% idea of putting it in the 27th pay line, you got a couple funds like records funds that are solely wages, so there's nowhere to take any money from. So when you add the 3% in plus the 27th pay, you're over that amount. Okay.
And then my other question is Fund 9539, that's the clerk's records.
The clerk's records.
You advertised 40,484 and our ordinance says 5,000. Is that correct?
What did I advertise?
40,484.
Oh,
and
yes.
then the ordinance says 5,000.
Yes, most of those were wages that she had in, and you had me remove all wages that weren't there the prior year.
Okay.
So
I just want to make sure because that one was.
yeah, it was a lot.
Different,
Just,
so, okay.
it was all wages.
Any other questions?
Not questions, but I talked about a couple things. The rainy day, I show what we are getting ready to appropriate at higher than what was adopted, but that's what, the ones at the top, that's what they were advertised at. So those changes can be made after the first of the year. We need to have some issues with the rainy day fund. And, public safety fund too, there was a discrepancy on what was advertised versus what we're gonna be appropriating. And so we'll have to make an adjustment after the first of the year, but I asked Todd to give me what numbers he's got to be sure, kosher on what that was. Just so you know that we're gonna have to make some changes on the first.
We can pull up those spreadsheets at the end of the night too, and show you where those changes were.
Other questions?
You have the public safety budget.
It's, I called Todd today, I'm like, where's the public safety budget? It's on the next page. It is actually Fund, 9532.
I don't have it.
It's on the second page.
Thank you.
The state fund numbers are different than local numbers, drives me crazy. But it is what it is.
My question is, I've got something from the DLGF here that shows the 2026 estimated local income tax distribution.
Yes, it should be like 6,700,000.
Well, it shows the public safety distribution to Madison County, $6,958,052.
And then you take off the sinking fund.
Okay, so that's the difference.
That's the radio bonds. So that money comes off the top, goes into the 2015 sinking fund before it ever goes into the public safety fund. That's probably the difference you're looking for.
That's the difference, the radio
680,000.
bonds between, okay.
680,000 for that particular one.
Other questions?
I just think we probably need to have some serious discussions about the future with our budget, because we know that we need to make some serious cuts these next couple of years. And I know that Jody had mentioned about, we need to cut positions. And I think we need to have a plan for that instead of just maybe talking about it and not following through. I think we need to start really looking at that. We're looking at the hiring freeze right now and making policy for that. But with the situation that's coming up for us and how much we need to cut from our budget for the next couple of years, I think it's something that no one wants to think about doing that, but I think it's the reality that we face.
what I think what the council's gonna have to do is they're gonna have to look at what they feel is an adequate number to cut our budget. And then we're gonna have to make a determination,
Can you talk into the microphones?
we're gonna have to make a determination,
Thank you.
on, you know, some of the departments don't have a whole lot of wiggle room. There's like 1 or 2 employees in them, and so we can't really ask them to cut anything. So we're gonna have to determine what that percentage is of the budget, and we're gonna have to, you know, make sure that the larger departments know that that's the percentage that they're gonna have to cut from the budgets. And we probably need to have that discussion sooner rather than later. So I would encourage you guys to kind of look at the budget, you know, and try to come up with a number that you feel that we could be comfortable at, that we need to cut, and what that percentage is, and then we can start addressing some of the larger departments ahead of time, so they can start looking on that now instead of next year.
Other comments? Roll call, please.
Counselor Steele?
Yes.
Counselor Colt?
Yes.
Counselor Ligon?
Yes.
Counselor Grabowski?
No.
Counselor Keller?
Yes.
Vice President Nort?
Yes.
President Green?
Yes. Next is the ordinance, the Independence Fire. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Steele?
Yes.
Counselor Colt?
Yes.
Counselor Ligon?
Yes.
Counselor Grabowski?
Yes.
Counselor Keller?
Yes.
Vice President Nort?
Yes.
President Green?
Yes. Next is the ordinance 2025-10G, the East Central Solid Waste District. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Steele?
Yes.
Counselor Colt?
Yes.
Counselor Ligon?
Yes.
Counselor Grabowski?
Yes.
Counselor Keller?
Yes.
Vice President Nort?
Yes.
President Green?
Yes. We have time for public comment. We'd love for you to come and share your thoughts on process, procedure, topic. Please, just a reminder, we ask you to state your name, state where you're from. You have 3 minutes, and would ask that you be respectful to all in the audience. Thank you,
Michael
sir.
Garinger from Adams Township. Good evening to you. Sorry I came in earlier. I heard you say, is there any questions? And I walked right up from the ding dong. And
Appreciate your graciousness and step back until this point.
Sure, no problem. Thank you, all of you. I'm sure it's not an easy job what you do. I do have some questions, and they're not mean. They don't intend to be personal attacks to anybody. I'm just new to this. The first question I had, I think there were several ordinances passed. And did any of those have public input or a public hearing?
No.
The last several.
So how many were there? How many ordinances?
What's that?
I guess, we're just here to listen, so I apologize.
Oh.
Sorry.
Oh,
I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
you're not going to answer the
Bob,
question? or what?
Bob, were we in compliance? Thank you.
Yeah, I asked specifically before the meeting how the logistics of or the legality of the process, so.
Okay, so
We followed the law.
So my understanding is you had 12 ordinances and you followed the law. I didn't see any public input today on what passed, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen. The other thing that I noticed was I looked at the budget here, and on page 5 it looks like, and correct me if I'm wrong, 51 million approximately is the budget for Madison County on Indiana.gov. And there's itemization of general, and I've heard you guys talk about general budget a lot today, is salaries and benefits inside that general budget, and what percentage of that general budget is salary and benefits?
Roughly 70%.
70% of it?
And no, that's not all the salaries in the general fund. There's salaries within all of our miscellaneous funds generally.
Okay, so this budget was for not including schools, things like that.
No, we don't do anything.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
David Sargent, Anderson, Indiana. One of the things that I am concerned about that we always have to deal with is with every part of those vehicles and everything. I think that I've mentioned to Todd, and he's working on some software that we give you guys a heads up, especially over the next 2 years. I feel like you may have already done this, but talking with each department head and getting a list of things that are going to be coming up in the future that you're going to have to fund, so that it's not a surprise to you at the last minute, even 3, 4, 5 years down the road, so you know that that's coming, so you can at least try and budget for it. Because I know you've always been scrambling to find money for this and that you didn't expect here at the last minute. So thank you very much.
Catherine Callahan, LaPel, Indiana. I just wanted some clarification on this 5% bonus that you'll be giving out to the community. I have to agree it will not help people in the long run in multiple ways. It will have a domino effect. People who have rentals, they're going to have to raise their rents over the years. People won't be able to keep up with their salaries to pay for rent that's going up, and property assessments are going up. So bonus checks really don't help them in the long run and over time. But my concern is that you're going to give a 5% bonus, and how will that be determined? Will the $100,000 employee get 5% of their salary, and the $30,000 employee get 5% of their salary? Therefore, us telling the community that the $100,000 employee is way more important than the $30,000 employee, because that's a problem, and it's a big one. Because I feel that every employee works just as hard, and they are just as valuable. So they should all be getting the same amount of a bonus, not a 5%, because some of the people who are at 100% or 100,000, they've gotten quite a significant raise over the last 4 or 5 years. So to give them a 5% raise the way that, if that's how you guys are doing it, that's not fair to anybody. So that really needs to be looked at how you guys are doing. I do think that Christy has a better idea on how to do this. I just don't think that's right. So some clarification on that 5%, because what you're going to do to morale is you're going to hurt it. You're going to say that the boss, who probably doesn't do as much front lines as the person who's actually out doing something, isn't as valuable. We shouldn't be doing that way. So I want to make sure that that is fair and equitable. Also, when you guys talk about, we're going to replace employees and we're going to, we've got one department that has an employee who's been there for decades, who does nothing but read a book. She's due to retire at the end of this year. Clearly, that position does not need to be replaced by any means. It needs to go. So, I don't know if you guys ever get on the cameras and look at the county building throughout the day periodically to see how active are these rooms and how active are these people, but I think you need to start doing that, because you're counting on elected officials to do the right thing. But when elected officials aren't doing the right thing, that's when it becomes the problem. So, you can't just say everybody needs to be replaced. So those are kind of some things that I'm concerned about. I'm also concerned about that we've done a budget here today, that things were not accurate. They weren't advertised as what we would see them. And so that's a big deal too, because how can the community keep you guys in check if you're not even keeping each other in check? So those are my comments for tonight.
Anyone else?
Hello, Nicole Schuyler, Kathy Shinsky, Spring Hill Road. So I got a couple questions. I came in I think it was last month. I asked a question. Nobody wanted to answer, and it went down to FOIA. But when I have to request stuff from the county, it's not a FOIA, it's an APRA. So that was one thing that stood out. Now, who inputs on the annual financial report? Who puts the numbers in there for the Indiana Gateway? Do you know? Because there's some numbers off. So if you want to go for the full disbursement for like in 2020 doesn't match with the disbursements from, let me show you. Just so you can see and you guys go back, I figured it out. So the disbursements here, this is like a whole bunch of pages. So these annual disbursements over here, the number here doesn't line up with what the gateway says in 2020 over here. So I just want to point that out that there was like, for that particular year, I guess it's 2023, there was $42,000 difference. In 2020, there was $200,000 difference. 2021, there was like a $50,000 difference. And I'm gonna have to APRA to figure out where that came in at. Now, we did notice on the budget that Baker Tilly does a lot of the financial supposedly, and we've already paid them like what was it for 2025? It's like $165,000, and we got 11 deputy auditors, and some of the numbers that are on these reports don't line up. So that would be one thing I would start with is who inputs, why are some of the ending balances zero, incoming receipts are like 50 million and they go right back out for disbursements, and then the imbalances don't seem to line up. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Thank you.
You want to speak to 2024?
I'm here for the public comment. My name is Todd Culp. I'm the county auditor. I live on 146 Nursery Road here in Anderson, Indiana. I would like to tell you that if you look at the cameras, you'll probably see me dancing, so don't be surprised, okay?
See, it's not a joke.
A little fun in between the word. I would like to address the audit question. Jody was just able to join us for the exit for the 2024 audit. It's the second year in a row that we're audited by an outside firm, Orbis, and we got a perfect audit, so you can rely on the numbers. I do understand that the numbers are complex, they're compiled. If you look at it and you look at general fund, it doesn't look like our general fund. It's a lot of general fund grouping of all the types of funds we use, public safety fund, and wherever we're using the money for operating expenses, it compiles all those numbers together. But second year in a row, perfect audit. Thank you.
I would say I empathize with the public, trying to look at Gateway, trying to look at these numbers, because I did that prior to doing this, and the level of complexity is substantial. The work, difficult maybe to be able to communicate how challenging the curve is to be able to process these numbers. All of the line items, the different funds, the complexities of the way that both revenue and expenditures are done. It's hard. It's hard. It's hard to look at it and make sense of it. It's taken a tremendous number of hours of study and processing together to feel like, for me, to be able to have a better understanding. So I empathize with our folks in the public trying to look at this from the outside and try to make sense of it. But also, we're elected officials. Please, reach out, send an email, phone call. We have offices that are there to try to be open, to try to be transparent, accountable. We want our constituents to understand as much as possible, the nature of the process. So, other public comment? I'm sorry, I thought we were done.
Madison, Madison County Sheriff's Department. You said to reach out and send an email. We have sent emails. We've gotten no response about meeting with you guys about our contract. Is there a response coming?
Excellent. We discussed that tonight. We had an email, and I got an email in the last 3 days. I haven't had an opportunity to respond to it. Would you like a response within a given time frame?
It would be appreciated. We've got many people whose livelihoods are dependent on this. We're looking for some clarification, some answers. Nothing has been clarified in any way, shape, or form.
What we decided tonight was the mechanism for who's going to be meeting with the group. We'll be getting that out this next week to try to set a time, so that hopefully we'll be able to make decisions, so that all of those decisions can be made by the first indication.
Thank you.
Does that help?
It does, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, I would take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to.
For license, is there a second? Second? Councilor Cullen. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Thank you.
All right, Madison County. So my patients keep inquiring with me about these GLP-1s in the oral use. So Alex stopped by today for lunch over here, and he works with
Orthomolecular Products.
And we want to talk to you about this new product that he's brought to us by the name of
Calico Clinical.
Okay, now he's never done this before. All of you are used to watching me, so for everybody who's interested in that oral GLP-1, this one is coming out of
It originally based out of New Zealand, so it's had research performed on it since 2009, and then human clinical trials in 2019. And so they've been using it over there since 2019 commercially, and now they're launching it here in the United States.
Now, for those of you who are watching who want to lose weight, I want you to turn this off if you have ulcerative colitis,
Yep.
Crohn's disease,
Yep. Or type 1 diabetes.
or type 1 diabetes. It's not a candidate for you. For those who don't have that, well, just stay tuned because I'm going to show you all the wonderful things about this. So for those of you that are in my practice, and there are so many of you who are on these GLP-1s, if you've gotten to the maintenance part and you think, hey, I'm done, I don't want to do the shot anymore, this is a more cost-effective way that you could maintain that weight loss if you wanted to try it. So this is an option. It's not a one-size-fits-all. Everybody knows that. You still have to have labs. For all my patients, you know I'm going to make you have good care if we're going to have care at all. So I want to let you know. So there is a clinical form of this, and there's a non-clinical form of this. So tell me, the non-clinical form you can buy on Amazon right now. And then there's a clinical form that you have to be with like a licensed provider.
Correct.
I don't recommend non-clinical because I feel all weight loss should be under supervision. So I am going to put that disclaimer in there before anybody calls the local law enforcement on me. But when you talk about, tell me the difference between the non-clinical and the clinical and the cost.
Yeah, so the non-clinical is half the dose of the clinical. So each capsule is 125 milligrams versus a 250 milligrams. So we have a different bolus of oil essentially. So it doesn't saturate the bitter taste receptors as densely, I guess.